Stop! I can't do this, dude!
SuperMega Saves the Troops is a work of fiction. Names, characters, businesses, events, brands, and incidents are the products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual brands, etc., is purely coincidental or of a purely parodic nature. To any lawyer reading this, it's just a goof, bro. Okay, well now that I just said that, I'm going to pretend that everything in this book was intended to be completely super serial. Much like these captivating Christian videos.
Claim to be a player, but I fucked your wife.
On the Captivating Christian, we're going to be doing something a bit different. Similar to how I did my video talking about Spine Chiller's Mysteries, we're going to be doing a video reviewing a book, a novel, a first adventure book, if you will. Today we're going to be talking about SuperMega Saves the Troops by one Ryan McGee and Matt Watson. Now, if you've been following The Captivating Christian, you should know that I certainly enjoy a lot of SuperMega stuff, seeing how they are the most Christian YouTube channel out there. And if anyone tells me that that's just a goof, a gaffe, a spoof, a laugh, plus a riot, then I will simply not believe you.
It's because you run into the tornado and shit, you can't blame it on me! You can't fucking blame this whole bullshit on me, you dumbass!
So seeing how I'm a fan of these Christian YouTubers, and considering this is a very patriotic book with SuperMega Saving the Troops, I got curious, so I decided I would look into the book myself. And I have to tell you, reading this thing was certainly an adventure in and of itself. Ha ha ha, I tell you what. The plot of the book involves Matt and Ryan being recruited by the government to take out one Osama bin Laden. For you see, according to this book, Osama bin Laden's death was actually faked, and because a bunch of troops have been kidnapped and taken to the Middle East by Osama bin Laden, or as they call him, Osama Benjamin Laden in the book, they recruit Matt and Ryan to go out and save them because, of course, the military can count on 2 YouTubers to do this. I mean, after all, they are SuperMega. Before all this was going on, they were simply enjoying their time at their mansion, the SuperMegaplex, and they were going out to get food at a place called Mussolini's, driving around in luxurious sports cars, crash into banks, belittle their Filipino manservant, Andre. These 2 boys just want to go out and grill, for Lord's sake, or in this case, they just want to go and casually enjoy their favorite film of all time, The Taking of Pelham 123, 2009 action thriller film. But because they won't answer their pagers or any kind of cell phone, the boys have to be lured out by the government, who proclaim that there's going to be some kind of showing for the movie in a local theater. After the boys get ready at Men's Warehouse, they attend and are ready to scarf down a lot of Orville Redenbacher, I believe is what they called it. Or that's at least what I believe the brand is called, because every time they said it, they said a different kind of name. I don't know a single person who would possibly do that. Once Ryan McGoggles and Amelia Watson end up at the movie theater, they are then apprehended by a government general by the name of Jeff Dunham. And let me tell you, as a fan of Jeff Dunham's stand-up, I knew I just got really excited after that. So after he tells them about Osama bin Laden still being alive and how they're recruited to save these troops who have been kidnapped, Matt and Ryan are then brought to this amazing submarine. There's a really funny joke about identifying as an attack helicopter, which some would say was supposed to be ironic, but I unironically laughed at that comedic brilliance. After jumping from the helicopter and Ryan gets injured and spending 2 weeks in a military hospital, they end up getting aboard the submarine and everybody applauds them. It turns out the captain of the submarine, David Jones, is actually a massive fan of theirs and wearing merch that you can find at the merch link that is properly referenced in the book. After one of the many shower scenes, because let it be known, if 2 straight men want to just casually have a shower or maybe even relax in a bathtub together, There's nothing wrong with that. But their showering fun is interrupted by a giant sperm whale that they have nicknamed Big Richard, which apparently Captain David Jones has tangled with ever since the 1940s. Because Matt and Ryan were simply playing with the ammunition and the artillery that were aboard the ship, it means that the captain must sacrifice himself, which he does. He successfully takes out the whale, but he also ends up dying in the process. Truly, his sacrifice will not be forgotten. However, Matt and Ryan then appoint themselves leaders of the ship, and nobody really has a problem with that. I mean, one general tries to intervene, but they then tell him simply, "Yo mama and these nuts." The submarine takes the duo to their destination in Japan, where they're supposed to meet up with some kind of informant who can help them learn more information about their mission, as well as get them some proper weaponry. And they do. They're dropped off at an abandoned warehouse where they meet up with former CIA agent Michael Richards, also known as Cosmo Kramer from Seinfeld. According to this book, Seinfeld was actually a psyop by the government to convince people that it was funny. Like I've been saying for years. Michael Richards tried stepping away from the CIA. He traveled the world and ultimately decided he wanted to get into stand-up comedy. But the CIA were just so desperate to get him back, they used subtle mental manipulation to make him say a bunch of really racist things at the Laugh Factory. Michael Richards successfully hooks them up with some weaponry, but they end up stealing his most prized possession, an old revolver that he nicknamed Little Richard. So the boys take all the weapons and just flee into the night. Because they're both unaware of the conversion rate between USD and Japanese currency, they end up stopping at a shady bar that's advertising free drinks. However, it's owned by the Japanese mafia, the Yakuza, specifically their leader, Yakuza Williams. The gang hold our two heroes hostage, but they successfully give them the slip with the old "look over there" routine. But they're unfortunate to have dropped a business card, which Yakuza Williams sees, and he proclaims that he will have revenge on the two. After that, Matt and Ryan get onto a plane to France, because apparently Osama bin Laden had treasure that was buried in France. So they're going to have to get to France, dig up the treasure so they can lure him out and assassinate him there. However, the plane ends up going down, and most of the people in the plane are killed, except for Matt and Ryan. After wandering around for a little bit, the two end up coming across a destitute village in the middle of Siberia, where they're taken in by a Russian couple called Boris and Babushka. They share what little food they have with Matt and Ryan, who promptly spit it out and throw it out into the snow, and their furs that they use to warm themselves, and by that I mean Matt and Ryan hog all of them, and they end up making Boris go out into the dead of night to try and find meat. But Boris comes back empty-handed and is about to freeze to death. And Ryan refuses to let him in because of that little joke that you would do where you're asking the other person on the other end of the door what's the password, and they wouldn't know because there was never a password. It's very clever and funny. It's at this point in the book where Matt and Ryan start to debate with themselves whether or not they're qualified for a job like this. And the answer is, of course they are, because they're Americans and they're YouTubers. So clearly, who else could be more qualified for this?
I think this is good as time as any to point out the book is clearly supposed to be a satire on American exceptionalism. Since Matt and Ryan are constantly portrayed as incredibly ignorant of other cultures. Honestly, it kind of feels like one of those Will Ferrell John C. Reilly comedies from the 2000s, if it was about two-man children sent on a grand mission they're not cut out for. And the book constantly points that out.
Ariel, I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that, okay? I know there was a disclaimer at the beginning of the book, but I'm going to pretend that this book was intended to be serious, okay? Next morning, Matt and Ryan decide to leave Boris and Babushka, and they end up taking this old rust bucket plane that I guess they said that they used to try and fly out to try and find stuff for their village. Point is, they're able to get the plane to fly, and they end up stopping off in Italy. While in Italy, they witness a rather Scorsese-looking gentleman drop off some kind of briefcase full of money on a park bench, which is clearly supposed to be for some kind of mafia drop, but they don't really notice or care about any of that, so they take the money so that they can get food. However, that money was belonging to one Don Vito, who is the head of some kind of local mafia. He shows up demanding that he gets his money. After that, Matt and Ryan are able to successfully sneak away by throwing a penny down the street, which distracts the mobsters, but they notice that their plane is also being guarded by one of the men as well. And Ryan takes his junior pilot badge that he got on the plane and throws it, thinking that it'll hit the guy in the head. However, it lands in the plane, which then explodes, and taking out the man as well as everything else around them. After getting chased by the mobsters some more, the two get into a bit of an argument, but end up having to hide inside of a barrel because the men are almost about to find them. And just as it seems that they're about to successfully give the mobsters the slip, Ryan's phone ends up going off, and it's General Jeff Dunham who's really angry at them. Their cover is blown, the mob is about to get them, but they're able to roll away and land inside of a gondola, which has a motor on it, and they get away. But the mobsters get into another gondola with a motor on it and end up chasing after them. But it's here where Matt decides to sacrifice himself so that Ryan can continue the mission. He jumps off of the boat, and he ends up knocking all of the mobsters out of the gondola. So it seems that they've won, and now they have 2 gondolas with motors on them. But much like Yakuza Williams, it's here where Don Vito will not be defeated by the 2 YouTuber men so easily, as he ends up finding yet another piece of memorabilia, in this case, the receipt from the pizza place which had their names on it. The 2 successfully get to France, and after getting yet another shower, stealing towels, and stealing a motorbike with a sidecar from some couple off screen, they're able to get to their destination rather easily. They find where the treasure is allegedly buried, but once they find the chest, they open it and realize that there's no treasure inside of it. Instead, there's a hole that goes all the way down into the Earth's core and a ladder. They decide to take the ladder down, and they find a cave of wonders filled with various currencies, jewels, gold, you name it, as well as the terrorist mastermind Osama Benjamin Laden himself. 2 end up getting knocked out by Benjamin Laden, and they wake up inside of a cage where he goes into full James Bond villain mode and even name drops some Austin Powers and hits them with a troll face. It's here where he reveals his plan, the nightmare as chapter 24 calls it, which by the way, the end of every chapter has to mention that there's some kind of nightmare on the horizon. Well, this is the nightmare. He has kidnapped the soldiers and strapped them to an intercontinental ballistic missile, which he says he's going to launch into the White House so that way he can gain control over the US. As Matt and Ryan are about to be strapped to the rocket themselves, they are then saved by some kind of force on the horizon. That force in question being the Yakuza, the Mafia, and Michael Richards, who are all seeking vengeance on Matt and Ryan. While all of this confusion is going on, Matt and Ryan end up getting all of the troops off of the rocket. They end up putting all of these gangs under citizen's arrest. In a last-ditch effort to get his plan to work, Osama bin Laden launches the nuke, and he then taunts Matt and Ryan like a child. Having to pull a brain blast, Matt and Ryan then pray for the missile to not hit the US of A. And it actually works. And they managed to assassinate Osama bin Laden for realsies. And so then everyone gives 3 cheers to Matt and Ryan for saving the day. It even begins snowing. I mean, yeah, it's remnants of the nuclear fallout from the ICBM, but everyone's having fun regardless. And so the book ends with the boys being able to finally watch their film, The Taking of Pelham 123, 2009 action thriller film. And they even explain why the ICBM didn't hit the US. It's because it collided with the Lolita Express, which just so happened to be flying in the air at the time. However, they still cannot finish the film because the book ends with a to be continued, as it seems that a meteor is about to crash into Earth in just a matter of days. And General Jeff Dunham shows up once again asking the boys if they've ever been to space. As a diehard fan of Matt McGee and Ryan Watson, I really did enjoy this book. There's a lot of patriotic and Christian imagery in here. There were tons of fun cameos all throughout. You had Michael Richards and Jeff Dunham, and even Seth MacFarlane, the creator of Family Man and American Father himself, showing up. There were tons of popular cultural references that I understood, especially when they explained them blatantly to me. And overall, I think that for a YouTuber book, this was certainly a fun read, and I'm definitely looking forward to more because it says this is SuperMega's adventure book number 1, so hopefully there's more on the horizon. However, I have to say, there's one part in the book, and it's around the second half or so, that kind of stuck out to me. There's a part where Matt goes down his childhood and he mentions all this stuff about his favorite blue crayon that he carries with him, and he mentions that coloring helped take his mind off of his stressful childhood life, as he mentions that his parents were apparently arguing a lot when he was just a boy. I felt a little bit insensitive to the legacy of one Dale Watson, okay? As someone who keeps up with the lore and knows about Matt and Ryan's parents since they always mention them in their Let's Plays and their podcasts and their sketches and whatnot. Gotta say, that was a major disservice to Dale Watson. I really didn't know how to feel about that. I gotta say, that took my rating of this book from an A++++ to just an A+++, which is to say that this book is still really good. I mean, after all, what did you expect from a book written by YouTubers? That does it for this retrospective of the first Super Mega book, Super Mega Saves the Troops. It was certainly a fun read. I look forward to maybe doing this every once in a while, talking about even more content creations from content creators, you know, outside of their videos and whatnot. I mean, we looked at that Cinema Snob movie, and now we looked at this, so who knows, maybe every once in a while we'll talk about other things created by content creators. But either way, I salute you, Matthew Watson and Eli Ryan McGee. God bless America, the troops, Super Mega, and their book, Super Mega Save the Troops, and may Jesus be with you.
Hey, where's your phone?
Around near the Dunnies.
You guys have a Denny's?